For the last year since I've been in this position, I have pounded the proverbial table around the world to say that the so-called new anti-Semitism that focuses on Zionism and the state of Israel is really not new at all. It is old classic Jew hatred, simply adjusted for the modern circumstance of the existence of the Jewish body politic. Anti-Semitism, in order to stay relevant, has always done that. It is the Jew hatred that always adopts current events and always ultimately makes the case, tries to make the case, that Jews represent a threat. Jews represent a threat to what? Well, they represent a threat to religion. They represent a threat to values. They represent a threat to public health. They represent a threat to economic health. They represent a threat to national or ethnic purity. And all of this through, conspiratorial tactics in an effort to undermine the good order of things. And that's the basic theme. But of course, anti-Semitism adopts current events. How could it not, by the way? I mean, there should be no surprise that there would be a tsunami on social media and the internet that blames Jews for anti-Semitism. That blames Jews for the coronavirus. How could that not happen, after all? Because the whole world is focused on the coronavirus. So how would we expect anti-Semites not to do what they've always done, which is to point to current events and blame the Jew for the current maladies facing the world? And so that's what we're seeing now. And so just like the hatred of Zionism in the state of Israel, the hatred of the Jew by blaming the Jew for the coronavirus is simply a classic age-old manifestation of anti-Semitism and what anti-Semitism does. Now, let me tell you what my office is focused on in light of current events. First of all, like I said, there is this wave of coronavirus-related anti-Semitism. I do want to say it's not clear yet. It's too early to tell whether this marks an increase in anti-Semitism or simply a realignment and refocus of anti-Semitism. That will be measured. That volume will eventually be measured, and we'll know the answer. Some say yes, it's actually an increase in overall anti-Semitism. Some say no, it's simply the flavor of the day, but it doesn't mark an increase. We'll find that out. But what we're also focused on in the long term, because look, the coronavirus, God willing, will be soon behind us, and we'll be back to a healthy time and the end of these quarantines. But what will be more will be less short-lived, and what will take longer to overcome is the profound economic dislocation that the coronavirus has brought. The closure of the economy of the earth is unprecedented and has led to really profound and tragic suffering of many, many people, millions and billions of people throughout the world. And that will take longer to fix. And what we know throughout history is that at times of economic suffering, the Jew is always in the crosshairs. And not only in terms of blame and rhetoric and incitement, but in terms of actual violence. Currently, people are holed up in their homes. But when they're not holed up in their homes, and when people are out of work, those among them who are anti-Semites, most are, thank God, not, but those who are anti-Semites among them can be expected to focus their attentions as they always have. And that's sort of a more long-term issue, and we are deeply focused on that. My team and I are intensely focused on a strategic plan to deal with this. Now, in the time allotted to me, I don't have, I can't drill down on our priorities, but let me in a nutshell summarize them. And these are our absolute focal points for the coming year. First of all, physical security, because if one cannot feel safe, one cannot have quality of life. So ensuring physical security for Jewish communities around the world is priority one. Second of all, adoption of the IRA definition of anti-Semitism and appointments of national anti-Semitism coordinators. The IRA definition has been a game changer precisely because through its examples, it strips the veneer and the ideological dress-up of anti-Semitism and allows us to say with definition and with certainty what is and is not anti-Semitism. And that regards the new anti-Semitism that focuses on Zionism in Israel, as well as the classic anti-Semitism. So adoption of IRA, the appointment of national anti-Semitism coordinators is critical. Another priority is dealing with the internet, which is, let's face it, the chief vector of this social disease. The internet does not cause anti-Semitism, but it is the carrier of anti-Semitism. And we have to be able to address it, not through censorship. We will stand to protect the First Amendment in the United States. It is sacrosanct, but we've got to deal with the main propagator of anti-Semitism and hatred. And I have a team member, it's unprecedented, by the way, but one of my newly appointed assistant special envoys is tasked with focusing specifically on internet hate. Never before happened in the history of the office I hold. And that's how seriously we're taking this. And lastly, and I save this for last, because while some of our weapons are defensive, some are offensive, almost all are tactical. This is the only strategic weapon to deal with anti-Semitism over the long term, and that is education, education, education. We have to get serious about this. And education doesn't mean only education in anti-Semitism, education about the Holocaust. All of that is critical. The world does not do a good enough job in that field. Of course, a CNN poll in Europe recently showed that fewer and fewer Europeans know about the Holocaust. Some have even not heard about the Holocaust. In the United States, there's a problem as well. So yes, of course we have to educate in anti-Semitism, but that's not what I mean. I'm talking about a philo-Semitic education, so that every kid in every classroom is given a curriculum that teaches what the Jewish people are and what Jewish contributions have been to that kid's country. Because you cannot tell the history of England or France or Germany or Poland or Russia or Hungary or the United States without talking about Jewish contributions to these countries. And so if we really want to get serious, if we want to get strategic, if we want to go on the offense against this indefatigable hatred that metamorphosizes in each generation and with each current event, we have got to drive an educational curriculum so that kids in classrooms in every city, in every country, know what the Jewish people are, know what Jewish values are, know what the Jews have brought to the world. And then, and only then, will we be able truly to work together to build that better world that our children and grandchildren so richly deserve. In that work, I know that I have no better partners. The United States has no better partners than the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, of course, also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs of Israel, and amazing organizations like the Jerusalem Center. Chazak u'varuch for all of your great work, and thank you for really standing shoulder to shoulder with decent people around the world to build that better future for us all.